Alrighty. So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Scuba and the Ry Guy.
Ry Guy, always.
Always Ry Guy. Alright, dude. Man, happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th. Red, white, and blue. Sparkles, Fireworks, and all kind of scary noises.
America. So fireworks, cookouts, the usual thing.
Yeah, you did the typical stuff. Grilled a little bit of stuff, you know.
What'd you grill?
I grilled sliders, some hot Italian sausages. I found some turkey steaks that I bought and forgot about, which is the trend with me. I buy stuff and forget.
Well, that's what you get for spending all that time in Wegmans.
Hey, that's my second home right now.
All right. I mean, it's walking distance almost, so hey.
Literally, they take my money. It goes in my belly.
Oh, yeah, like you really have to twist your arm for that.
No, not really.
No, well, we did a little bit of grilling. Didn't do a whole lot. Did some burgers, a couple of sausages, just kind of low-key. Friends came over for a little while. Helped my son with his scooter. Because a while back, a buddy of mine gave me a scooter that had stopped working because his apartment complex said they were going to get rid of it. I was like, well, I'll take it. It didn't run. Figured, hey, what the heck? I could see if my son has a mechanical aptitude. So, and I have another friend who's all into mechanics. So he came over with his wife, and they spent some time troubleshooting the scooter. So far, they found that the oil, there was way too much oil poured into it.
That is
that's going to be a problem.
That's a problem.
There were some cracks in the vacuum line for the fuel, and of course the battery is like shot. But trying to get it to crank, we switched out the spark plug and tested some of the other stuff, but it didn't quite turn over. So thinking that might be diving in and cleaning out some more sections, maybe the carburetor, the fuel system, but they figure it'll take another day of just breaking each part down to clean it, dump it in carb cleaner, that kind of thing, to get it all put back together, which is good. I mean, he's learning, and my friend is making him do all the wrench turning except for like the detail stuff.
Hey, you tinker a little, you get better at it.
Well, you're building up that experience because mechanics is all about not really much different than IT troubleshooting. Is unless you have some hands-on with the equipment, you really can't diagnose based on hearing.
Yeah, the more you troubleshoot, the better you get at recognizing things.
Yeah, so they did that, and then running back and forth, and then dropped him off with a friend he reconnected with, and they went down to the Outer Banks today.
It's always fun going down the Outer Banks, especially visiting them dunes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of what we're into doing, what I've been working on the last week or so. It's like I've been kind of reorganizing stuff. One of the things I did was pulled out all of my camping gear that I have that's been sitting in storage for a few years. It's like, because you put something in storage, and it's like, okay, I know what it is. Years go by, and you're like, I think I have this, I think I have that. And then you open it up, and you go, oh. Well, darn. Yeah. Got a lot of mix match. I mean, I don't have enough right now, as out of practice as I am, to just grab it up and go out to the mountains for the weekend.
Yeah. I wouldn't pull a Ry Guy and just get up and go to the mountains.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I expect you to drive out, take some photos, and drive back. I don't expect you to drive out, park the car, then walk into the woods for the next day and a half.
Yeah, no, I'm too too quick to go and come.
Yeah, so, but kids want to do camping.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get in better shape. I'm getting in better shape, so I want to go back to camping.
Marathon running, that's where it's at.
I think I'm going to talk to the trainer about that, because I've been wanting to get back to running. I figured running's a nice expediter of weight loss. But
oh yeah, it's helped me a lot, little by little.
So I pulled out all the gear, and I went through it all. It's like, all right, if it's broken or in pieces, I'm tossing it out. The stuff that's still complete, got to look at it. It's old, so it probably needs to be refreshed a little bit. Retreat the tents, yada, yada, yada. So I've been working on that and getting them all restored so that, hey, this is what I've got. And I find air mattresses and sleeping bags. I'm like, whoa. When the kids come over for their monthly D&D game, now I have more stuff to let them sleep on, so it's not quite so uncomfortable sleeping on the floor. Ish.
Hey, a little cushion is better than no cushion.
Yeah, well, the air mattresses need to get some repairs, so I got this, Gorilla Tape, and it's it took me 4 tries to get the stuff to work. Because you read the instructions, place it on the area you wish to patch, and rub the edges vigorously until the adhesion sticks, and it's like, really? So, doing that, doing some chores around the house, just kind of low-key trying to catch up on things, because
oh yeah, I can understand
still
that.
Adjusting to this whole I don't spend all my time in the office.
Oh yeah, when you free up time, you can focus on a lot of things.
Yeah.
I had the week off from work, so I ventured out in many places.
Yeah, you went on a trip. Where'd you go?
Oh yeah, well we did 2 trips.
Okay.
The first trip we went and visited some wineries up in Northern Virginia.
The infamous Ry Winery. Run.
Oh, I love visiting wineries. A mixture of tasting wines, taking pictures, and just seeing something else other than the hometown.
So how many wineries did you hit on that round trip?
Always 4. I can't do more than 4.
Can't do more than 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, so did that. Did shopping at Tyson's Corner because I'm a shopaholic. And then we did another trip up to Baltimore to visit the National Aquarium. And might I say that's a very nice aquarium. I would recommend that to anybody that likes visiting museums.
Okay.
Then we just walked around Inner Harbor, took some photos, and then came back.
Sounds like a lot more adventurous than my last few days. Or week. Yeah, my daughter got her cast off.
Woohoo!
Oh, yeah, she was so excited to go in there, and it's like the nurse does things like, all right, this won't cut you, but it'll vibrate. A lot of people says it tickles, and it has some hearing protection if you want them. So she opted for the hearing protection, and she was just busting a gut laughing. And
I would presume so, knowing.
And then, of course, it
her.
was all right, now we have to take x-rays to make sure it's healing right, otherwise got to put a new one on, and she's sitting there. X-rays were good, took her out, and then it was like, all right. So I promised I would take her to go get a pedicure.
Are you going to get one too?
No, I didn't get one, but there's a child spa not too far away from here. They do birthday parties and stuff.
Hey, you got a good idea coming up.
Yeah, it's called Stephanie's, and so it's like, oh, let's go check this place out. So it's right up here, down about a mile or so from where we're sitting right now, and go in, and it's a little quiet. It's got one person there. It's like, all right, so what's up? And it's like they do full birthday party setup, right?
Okay.
Admit 8 girls. As 8 people as a start, because I don't want to imply that it's only for one gender or another, but 8 participants, and then there's varying levels, like you can get a full hair, nails, the whole thing for 8 people, and they'll provide food, they'll provide drinks, they'll provide the cake, they'll even do a theme.
That sounds like a good experience.
It seems good, especially for a lot of what I've seen with kids these days and parties. It's like people doing the parties, like they just want the whole package. They don't. It's like, here, let me just stroke your check. You handle all the planning. You handle all that. I just tell you what dates.
That's what is very good nowadays with a lot of the catering, especially if you go to specific places. They just do everything. You just book it and they provide everything. Yeah, which I kind of like, because then is she still in that age where this would be a good thing? And so it's all right. Well, let's. She just got a cast off, so we want to do the pedicure thing. And it's like, all right, well, we have two packages. We have the simple lotion and nails, and then we have the whole soak your feet, scrub it with a sea salt, and then lotion and nails. Well, you know what? She never had one before. She's had this cast on for like 6 weeks, so it's like she wants to do the girly quote unquote stuff, or makeup and all that. Not that it's a bad thing, So it's all right. Let's do the full package.
the price was like $15
for the whole thing.
The whole thing for her. Just
for her.
Just
okay.
for a pedicure. Just for a pedicure. I had no. And, she did. She got the soak and all that, and they put Kids Pop on YouTube. It was great. It was nice and relaxing. We talked a little bit about that, how things go. She got the whole glitter. She came back. She's like, oh, that was great. And I was like, well, I guess for a point of comparison, we'd have to go to one of the grown-up spas and see how that compares. She goes, we can go right now. I'm good. Like, I've created a monster.
Hey, it's time to put some more green in that wallet then.
Oh, yeah. Got to work on that. Yeah, but it was nice. We had fun, and then we, did dinner, and then it was then a couple days later we went to the movies, did a movie thing because it's the summer, and now she's off at a sleepover, and it's quiet.
Quiet house with no kids. I don't really know that.
Have you ever broken a bone or had put a cast on for a while?
I have never broken a bone. I have done some stupid stuff as a kid, but I've never broken anything.
Okay, well, for some of you out there who may have broken a bone, you can totally empathize with this. Is like you get it off, you get the cast off, and then there's that range of motion. And the thing is, I'm trying to get her to not limp. Because, she's had her foot in a certain way for 6 weeks trying to rebuild the muscle. So it's constantly getting on her about walking and heel to toe and all that motion. Because I don't want her to end up having a bad habit and getting another injury because, she's not using the limbs the way they're supposed to be.
Constant motion will help it out.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I made her walk about 5 miles total that day.
Hey, that's... I can understand that just with all the walking we did between these two trips.
Well, she wants to go out to the airsoft field, so it's like, look, you got to get the strength up because they told her no high impact, no jungle gyms, no trampolines, no bounce houses, none of that until you get some. It'll take a couple of weeks. It's like, well, that means you can't go out to the airsoft field till you get some strength in because I don't want you running. I don't want you quote unquote running around the field and then getting hurt because your legs not strong enough.
You go crack and then there goes my back.
I don't need to know. I don't need a repeat hospital visit for a broken bone.
Hospitals is not a place I want to be.
No. Hospitals. They're great for the sick, but they suck for the healthy.
Yes.
Because then you just. Anyways, I digress.
Moving on.
What are we going to talk about? I know we've been rambling on about what we've been doing.
Yes.
So I guess we need to, get into the quote unquote meat and potatoes of today of the episode. A
little bit of gravy too.
Oh yeah, gotta have gravy.
Turkey gravy.
Turkey gravy with steak.
Hey, gotta try something new.
This is like mixing. I mean, what is this?
Hey, I have a half Asian blood. I mix everything.
I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm just gonna leave that alone because you're the foodie.
Oh yes,
you're so the foodie. All right, so I guess we'll start off with your
latest movie review. Well, the last movie that I actually posted a review for was for the film called Yesterday.
Okay.
Directed by Danny Boyle. It's more of an indie flick.
All right.
And it tackles a very unique concept. The premise for the story is, what would it be like in a world where the Beatles did not exist? And the main character, the main actor, is the only one that knows about the songs. So
he's the only one who remembers the Beatles.
Oh yes, he is the only one that remembers the Beatles.
For some strange reason, the Beatles do not exist.
Yeah, it's a plot device. Use a plot device to knock them out, flick out the switch. They pull the wish what if kind of plot device to initiate the Beatles don't exist. So now the character Jack Malek is the name of the character.
Okay.
Now he just feels confused because he's like, "Are y'all playing a game on me? Y'all don't know who the Beatles are?" So once he plays the first song, which was Yesterday, then he starts picking up on that he lives in a world without the Beatles. So now he's at this crossroads. It's like he's the only one that knows all these songs, and he's a struggling musician. How can he use it to his advantage, but at the same time present this music that people should know? Because some people consider the Beatles the greatest band of all time.
Well, yeah, I mean the Beatles changed a lot of the face of music. So just trying to picture a world where the Beatles did not happen when they did.
So, yeah.
What was some of the domino effect of that?
Some of the domino effect is like not only the fact that the Beatles don't exist, like there's no reference, nothing, they just don't exist. There's a trickle down effect where it affects some other things, some other products, some other bands. I'm not going to say what, because
does it affect the whole concept of rock music?
It doesn't affect the concept of rock music, but
who filled in that void?
Well, the movie doesn't focus on that. The movie focuses on on Jack Malek and how he uses the music to rise up through the industry. So now he is the central focus is his personal conflict of he wants this music to be out in the world, but he's also profiting off of it. So he deals with a personal struggle with that inner conflict
Is this like a kind of a documentary thing, looking at, tracing how the Beatles' success and all of that, trying to draw any kind of parallels?
Nothing tied to being a documentary or a musical biopic like Bohemian Rhapsody or Rocket Man. This is just a story that takes a unique concept and builds it off through its originality.
Okay.
So now when you watch it's basically a mixture of a coming-of-age story within a love story. So they combine both because it focuses on Jack Malek and his manager Ellie as they move up the ranks of the music. So basically you watch his rise, but you also watch their relationship develop through the movie. Okay, is it period-based? Like, is it the time the Beatles would have come out? No, it's modern. So, it's all modern. So, okay, we're taking Jack Malek in 2019. Yes. And the Beatles have never existed. So he knows all the songs. So when it starts off in the first half of the film, like when it's focusing on him rising through the industry and this personal conflict, like the movie's great. Like it's putting the lens on what would you do? Would you be okay with rising to stardom and profiting off of this, or would you stay, still feel an uneasiness, the fact that everybody's seeing you as this great rock star, as this great musician with all these great songs, but in the back of your head, they're not your songs. So what I found great about the movie, which is directed by Danny Boyle, and if you've seen any of his movies, he focuses on no matter what genre he tackles, he focuses on the character within the setting. What are some other notable things? He did 28 Days Later. Okay. He's done Slumdog Millionaire. Okay. So those are the two big ones. Films. So what you see in his trait is he focuses on the characters within the setting. So they have to tackle their setting while also tackling their own growth as a person. So even if you're dealing with 28 Days Later, where they're running from zombies, and or with Slumdog Millionaire, where he's using being on a game show to find the girl that he loved a long time ago, where this one you see that strength of the character of Malek and his struggle with the popularity that he's gaining, at the same time wanting to tell the truth. So he's stuck in that rut. And then while the film is building up the strong character, the music, the music plays, when he plays certain songs at certain times, it works with the growth. Okay. So, and then the second half happens. Oh, no. So. Okay. And that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but there's a shift. Okay. Instead of focusing on the strength of the movie, they start focusing on the romantic relationship between his manager, Ellie, and himself. There's nothing wrong with the romance, but the way it's played up, they just completely forget about the concept, and they focus way too much on the love story. So then it falls into the trap of a rom-com tropes. So there's a lot of misfires with... rom-com, is that like romantic comedies? Yeah, romantic comedies. Okay. So there's a lot of tropes that play into the fulness of a rom-com. So there's a lot of cliche over-the-top melodramatic tie to love. Why are you doing this? Faced with the ultimate choice of should I focus on myself or on the relationship. There's just a lot of just plot threads that just happen for no reason, and decisions that characters make are just dumb. Like, you present a conflict, but it doesn't make any sense. So when there's a certain conflict between the romance of Ellie and Malik, it doesn't make any sense to what was built up in the first half with his own personal struggles of the music. And it just takes away from it. Sounds like
you caught script rewrites in the editing.
What you caught is that they had the concept and they just wanted to lead into the romance. So that's why the shift flips. And the writer for this movie is the same writer from Love Actually, which is one of my favorite rom-com of all time. But the difference is that Love Actually is a romantic comedy. So it focuses on the relationship, and that's what makes it great.
What's Yesterday supposed to be?
Yesterday is supposed to be built on the music and the concept of this personal choice of, should I profit off of another person's work, or should I just reveal the truth and let the world see the greatness of the music? So it's the idea that gets lost in the generalization of the romance. Even so, when it hits the climax, it brings it back. Okay. It brings it back to the music.
Does it redeem itself?
It does. It redeems itself, and there's a couple scenes near the end that makes you realize it's like, okay, the romantic part that they focused on in the second half might have brought the film down, but it doesn't ruin it.
Okay.
So, and there's a couple unique twists that happen near the end that'll make you feel good. So, ending on that feel good note, it leaves you with the experience like, okay, this is a good film to see at a discounted rate. So that's why I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Okay. Now, is it something that would be like, kind of like how A Star Is Born was last year's kind of casual feel-good movie?
Well, it has that feel-good sense like A Star Is Born, but what makes A Star Is Born greater than this movie is that they blended in the relationship with the music.
So this one, it doesn't.
Because when it flips to the romantic side, there was never really any hints in the first half, other than the fact that they've been friends for a long time, and then all of a sudden, when he gets popular, she starts feeling something.
Oh.
So, and then they just tie into all the romantic comedy tropes.
Okay.
So over dramatic sequences and one-dimensional personas, but it doesn't ruin the movie. It just becomes obvious. And they just leave it to the wayside, the concept, for a good 20 minutes.
Okay.
But I would recommend it to anybody that are a fan of the Beatles, or just they like good indie films.
Good indie films. Indie films are what makes... You get some real gems with that.
Yeah, that's why my personal favorites are indie films, coming-of-age films, because they focus on the writing and the characters. That doesn't always mean that they're great, but those are the ones that appeal to me the most.
As opposed to the quote-unquote blockbuster.
Oh, yeah. The blockbusters, they don't appeal to me as much as they used to when I was a kid, but that doesn't mean there can't be any great blockbusters.
Oh. Which is a great segue into the next thing. It's like, I see we're in June. We just wrapped up on the month of June.
Oh, yes.
Wrapped up the first half of 2019. So we're getting into our second half.
Yes, sir.
And there have been a lot of films that came out so far.
A lot of films.
And you post, you in traditional fashion, you post a kind of a group top 5 films. And here's we see you just posted your mid-year 2019 top 5.
Yes.
And some interesting titles in here. So, I mean, just to kind of break it down, we got Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Oh, yes.
Which, from what I understand, is a retelling of an older storyline of Broly.
Yeah, what they did, they took a character that was during the Dragon Ball Z era. They made they have films, but the films aren't canon. So what Akira Toriyama did, he took the character Broly and brought him into the film. Brought him in canon to the series. So this film is a continuation of Dragon Ball Super, so it's like a second chapter. So it's part of the story. Okay. And this film represents the strength of what makes that series great, but also represents the strength of Japanese culture with anime. The animation is great. The story is deeply woven into the lore. So even if you aren't deeply knowledgeable of the Dragon Ball lore, they do enough to build it up so you understand the characters' motivations in the film.
I do remember that they did carry over a lot of the stuff from the quote-unquote non-canon instances of Broly into this, and it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So a few subtle details to work within the story.
It made a lot of fans happy that they made Broly canon, and what they did, they didn't just do the cookie cutter, like, masculine, character that was in the original films. They actually added character depth to him. So not only is he a brute force, but there is reason behind his madness.
Okay, I mean, kind of overall with Dragon Ball Super, how would you feel that is since it's the canon continuation of after Dragon Ball?
The series,
the
overall series, the Dragon Ball Super series. It does a great job in combining the great aspects between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. So you get the great action with the great comedy and story of Dragon Ball.
Okay.
So it does an amalgamation, and it plays a lot to fan service in Dragon Ball Super. But even though it does that, it has a lot of great moments. And Dragon Ball Super just led to the renaissance of Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball is at its height of popularity that it's ever been. Like, it was strong in the 80s, strong in the 90s, and when they brought Dragon Ball back, the popularity has skyrocketed.
Well, that's good. All right, our next one in the list is John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. All right, so what earned this one's spot on the list?
This is the quintessential representation of what it is to go to the movie for an action experience. There's been, some other movies that came out this year that you'll see on the list that might be an action film, but this one in particular represents what is great about action. Not only does it give you great kills, great sequences, but what makes the experience so great is that it builds upon the lore of this world of assassins in the John Wick universe.
That's just some of the technical side of the gunfighting. Seems...
Yeah, the gunfighting...
It doesn't feel like... this does... yes, there are parts that are unrealistic.
Yeah.
True, but there are a lot of parts that seem very much, well-trained.
When you're left to your vices and you're left to just using whatever means necessary to survive, this film shows you all the unique ways that John Wick, gets through fights. Because when you're left to your...
He's got a lot of training.
Oh, yes. When you're left to your skills and nothing but a book, stuff happens,
Yep, I remember that one. All right, our next one on the list is Us.
The second film from Jordan Peele, and another home run for Jordan Peele.
Which is weird, because I think of Jordan Peele, I think of, kind of this era's Steve Martin slapstick comedy.
I don't what the irony of everything is that his two award related films have been in the horror genre, and what that shows as a writer is that he has range. And specifically these two films, even though they fall in the realm of horror, they are two separate horror films.
Totally different.
So
films.
Get Out is a straightforward. It plays on the social themes, but combines it with
Stepford Wives kind of.
Stepford Wives, creepy, eerie, typical linear horror. Whereas Us, it focuses on the psychological perspective, and it puts a mirror on yourself.
So
because it plays
both of these play into more of the classic horror versus modern horror, which is let's go for the body count, let's go for the gore. This is kind of like maybe a callback to more like the Alfred Hitchcock type of horror, where it got you. It got you you didn't see it, but it was the fact that you could visualize it.
What this film represents is how, if you give a writer with the creative bliss that Jordan Peele has, he can map out a story within a genre. And so what he does, he takes the psychological aspect of horror and combines it with the ambiguous nature of of humans, whereas it plays on the role of what is good and bad. Because when you see this film, you think you know who's the good and bad people, but you really don't know, and you root for both sides. You understand both sides. Okay. So when the main characters are faced with their doppelgangers, you're like, WTF, what the heck's going on? But combined with all the atmosphere, the ambiguous nature of the story, and all the little cues focused on detail, it wraps up in a way where there's no definitive end. It's just what if you're faced with this reflection of yourself in the mirror, how would you handle it? Okay. And that's what made the experience great, because even after the movie, I was still talking about this movie. And just like Get Out, a second viewing or a second thought will mess with your mind. So, yeah, provocative in detail, but very great writing.
All right. Our next one is surprise, surprise. If it's
really surprised? Are you sure?
Sarcasm. Come on. I mean, you have sarcasm in this universe, right?
I guess so. Maybe.
Avengers Endgame.
Avengers Endgames. If you read my review when I posted it April, May, whenever it came out, it speaks for itself. This is a culmination of 10 years of storytelling. So not only does it wrap up every film within the MCU, but it represents the idea of what makes blockbuster great. Like I said earlier, my appeal towards blockbusters has waned over the years, but what brings me back to a blockbuster is how they can master a great story within the visual spectacle, and Endgame represents that fact, because most of movies is focused on the characters, and each act plays against a different genre. Okay. So you have your comic booky-ish action in the beginning, and then it's a heist film for the bulk of the middle, and then it leads into what I would call the greatest cinematic achievement in any comic book film known to man.
We actually get a Cap to sit there and say Avengers Assemble.
Oh yeah, and a lot of the other elements dropping in there, and a lot of the fan geekiness. Just I'm not going to spoil it, but when that scene happens on your left, you just stand up out of your seat, and I did that 3 times in the theater.
I love how that's a great callback to Winter Soldier, where it's like he's running around the lake, and it's like on your left.
Oh yeah,
on your left. Don't say it.
But yeah, it represents a true experience of what it means to see a blockbuster in theaters. Like, if it's a great blockbuster, it will not only just wow you with pizzazz and spectacle, but it'll make you genuinely care about the characters in the film. That could be the fact that you've been on this journey with a lot of these characters for 10 plus years, but at the same time, even if you're coming into it, say like my mom or something, you can get drawn in because of the characters, even if you're just soloing just this one movie.
Okay, so with that, we know that they re-released Endgame last weekend.
Oh, yes. With 6 minutes of additional footage, but I didn't go see it because I found out what that 6 minutes was. It wasn't really worth it.
But where do you think... I mean, let's be honest. The only reason they did it was because they were so close to Avatar.
Oh yeah, that would have been
so close.
Oh yeah, they were so close, and it would have been great.
Where do you think they went wrong?
They should have just came. They should have just came on and just said we're really releasing to break Avatar. They should have just said it instead of
help us break Avatar. Yeah, just leave it at that.
Yeah, just leave it at that.
Or be like an alternate. Maybe like an alternate scene or something, or
if you're going to re-release it, at least add some minutes like Lord of the Rings.
How about at least do like if you're going to add footage, don't add it at the end. Add it throughout the story, and hey, how about you finish all the footage instead of the half assembled stuff? You expect that on Blu-ray. You don't expect that on theatrical.
It's like you just used a bunch of crayons and painted on vanilla paper. There's our Hulk.
Yeah,
but I didn't go see it.
Can't say I'm a fan of that. No. But
hey, they tried.
Hey, it would have been nice if you had a new cut. If you added a new post credit where it's like Loki pops up somewhere. It's like, sun shines on him again.
Oh, here we go.
But that's alternate timeline stuff, and we finally have those questions answered, which we'll get to later. And the last one on the list is Toy Story 4, which we talked about last week, so we don't need to hash too much into it, but what got its place on the list?
Well, like you said, I'm not going to go into the full...
You got a wide variety. You got a horror film, you got an action film.
What this list represents overall, and including it centralized in Toy Story 4, is the core element of why you go to the movies. It's an escape. It's a genuine feel. It's that feeling that you get when you go on a journey from beginning, middle to end at the theater for a movie. It does not matter what genre it is, but being taken in by what you're seeing, by what you're watching, by what you're feeling. That's why Toy Story 4 is on this list. It's because the quintessential reason we go to the movies is that experience. Okay. And that's what these 5 films represent, because most of the year has been pretty mediocre. So I had to really pick and pry my list to figure out what is the central thing that made the great film stand out so far, and it's the experience. And like Toy Story 4, it represents that core element of that experience. Right. And I'm not going to go back and re-review this movie. We did that on a past podcast, so you can tell. Toy Story 4 is a crowning achievement for the series, and the more I think about it, and the more I think about the other films in the series, it brings it all together.
Okay.
And it's a good movie on its own too. And it represents the fact, if you put attention to detail in your writing, in your directing, in your acting, even if it's by voice, when you can make your voice care about a spork, you've done your job.
Oh, yeah.
If you make me cry within the first 5 minutes, you've done your job.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
So, do you have a best 5 or anything that comes to mind?
Well, I haven't seen Broly, so I can't really comment on that one. I would definitely say John Wick Chapter 3 is in my top 5 so far.
Is there anything that I haven't mentioned or you've seen on my list that you would put in your 5? Because there's a few other films.
There's a section here which is good. You do some honorable mentions, which means what strikes me is like these are really good films. That just, compared to what the other ones you've seen, they make your top 5. And that's and the 2 of them on here are I've seen 3 of the 4 that you list. Now 2 of them I would definitely, because I'm really a big fan of their respective franchises, and that's How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, and Pokemon Detective Pikachu. The reason with those 2, I'll do it with How to Train Your Dragon. That whole trilogy is just, in my opinion, it's a great extended coming of age, and it really shows the whole wonder of exploration, and especially if you watch, because it's one thing to just watch those films, but it's another thing if you watch those films and have watched the 2 television series DreamWorks did, which had a lot of the same voice cast.
That's good.
Did the show, but the Dragon Riders of Berk really expands on some stuff. And then Race to the Edge, which is the 6th season second part, which both of these occur between How to Train Your Dragon and How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Okay.
So what's really nice is it's just, I like those. The same thing can be said for like similar in concept, but not necessarily in execution, is like the Matrix stuff.
Oh yes,
Matrix Reloaded, Enter the Matrix, and the Animatrix. Those things all broaden the world you're in, so it makes it really interesting. When
you build the world, even with the series or the 3 films, that's the one great thing about this series is the world building. Like you said, the coming of age story. Each film, there's a growth in Hiccup. You see him going.
There's a growth in all of them.
So,
I mean, even Snotlout, which, granted, it's a little harder to find.
Let's look. I can't. There it is. I found it.
But it's really nice, and especially because the cool thing is like is all the tech, because it's really jarring to see Hiccup in the first one and then the second one, and if you only watch the two films, it's like, okay, a lot can happen in 5 years.
Oh yes.
But if you watch Race to the Edge, you can see that trajectory for Hiccup. You can actually see how he's been inadvertently through life learning how to be chief. And then the third film, it's struggling, and it shows another thing that it's a subtle thing it touches on is the propensity to destroy blindly. And I say that because with the third one, because you're curious about this whole thing with Night Furies.
Oh yes.
And then realizing that Night Furies have become extremely rare. At first you think, oh, they're really rare. And then by the time you get through the whole series, franchise, story, you realize, oh no, they've been hunted to extinction.
Oh yeah. And I mean, they reveal that in the third one. Slight spoiler.
But you can kind of see that if you watch Race to the Edge.
Yeah.
It's a subtle hint in the background because people know about Night Furies, but everybody knows it's really good to see them.
Oh yes.
And then come in seeing the third film, seeing the guy who actually, for no better reason than just because his own sport, hunted down all the Night Furies.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's just... What?
No rhyme or reason. He just went after them.
But a lot of... So that one's a definite... That one would definitely be in my top 5. Is the whole How to Train Your Dragon franchise. Pokemon Detective Pikachu... That one seemed very out of the box.
Yeah, that's a movie that came out of left field. And being a Pokemon fan that I am, I genuinely enjoyed that movie. Like, it knew the world, it built the world for the Pokemon.
They didn't try to change anything that already existed. If anything, it worked itself.
Yeah.
It found a way to work itself in to the broader Pokemon universe.
They did
it was believable.
Yeah, it did a lot of tie-in. If you're a true fan, you noticed a lot of the tie-ins to the past games and the animation. But that the world building, it drew you in. It didn't try to explain or reason why things existed. They pretty much, this is our world. This is how it is, and go.
I think Ryan Reynolds definitely is. He's got great timing.
Oh yeah, his wisecracking ability is just on point.
You know, some people can hate him because they think he's very one-dimensional, but if you look at his film resume, he's everywhere.
Yeah, he's got a wide range. You just what happens is that when people get cast in roles, they look at what's on the surface or what their bad role was 10 or 15 years, but they don't focus on the other part of the 15 years.
Or they happen to be lucky enough to play a role they can retcon their own mistakes.
Oh yeah, Deadpool 2. What was that in the post-credit scene?
Kid, you hit the big time. Boom!
Let's just
You're welcome,
fix that.
Canada.
Oh, Canada.
But I think it was... I went into that, it's like, okay, we're going to get like a Deadpool-style humor, and no, it was actually really kind of fun.
Oh, yeah. He fit the wisecracking within what you would believe would fit the role of a
some
character
of the stuff
in the
was
Pokemon
definitely a little adult, but
Yeah.
it wasn't toilet humor.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't feel like toilet humor, and the way they integrated that into the story really, and that threw me for a loop, which I think is really good in a film. Is you're expecting one way,
Oh, yeah.
and then all of a sudden, oh no, it's this one. Well, crap! Now that made everything in the past make sense.
Oh yes, the murder mystery plot. It could have keeping the murder mystery plot generic allowed you to live the world.
Yeah.
So this is the one time where the basic outline worked to its benefit. So
yeah. And of course, I would probably also do John Wick and Avengers Endgame. Let's see.
that's 4.
That's 4. Oh man. I'm not sure.
What else have you seen this year that would be a fifth on your list?
Trying to think. Captain Marvel. That was another one that came out this year. Another House of Mouse. I really liked Captain Marvel because it was different.
Oh yes, they took you cosmic.
Funny, and for me, the humor that really appealed to me is not the, oh, let's make a crude joke. Oh, let's make a sarcastic joke. It's the subtlety of facial expressions and tone of voice and turn of phrase that really got me.
Oh yeah,
and I loved it.
It felt like a '90s film to me, which I liked. They made it fit the era, but they didn't like bash you with it.
No. It was good. It was a lot of nice references, and it was funny, and it was like the characters were really enjoyable. The fact that it's like, hey, here's this element of the comics that everybody and their brother knows about, whether you know comics or not. You know this group is this, and they said, "Aha! I see that," and I go, "No." Here it is, totally different. No, it's like,
I like the one thing I did like about Captain Marvel was they did a twist on the scrolls.
That's what I was referring to. It's like, in case you haven't seen it yet, or even though it's out on digital now, but it's like twisting the scrolls to, and it's like, well, and again, you really can't tell if they're 100% bad, but you definitely can't tell they're 100% good. But now, in this context, it makes better sense for them to be allies.
Oh, yes.
And I thought that was a nice twist in the film. You really got in there because I think one of the beauties of Marvel's stories versus DC is Marvel really likes to point out the ambiguity of situations.
Yeah.
Especially
the Kree-Skrull War. You realize that there's...
From this perspective, it's this, but if you just shift, it's totally different. And
that's why Marvel is really good at telling stories within the movies, because they tackle the typical tropes of a comic book character, but they add a spin to it. They add depth. They add reasons why you might root for them, or reasons why the typical mustache twirling villain isn't the mustache twirling villain. He has reason. He has purpose. Killmonger, Vulture, any of the Iron Man enemies.
With the exception of the actor Mandarin.
Oh, yeah.
But I would love to see them fix that with a true Mandarin.
They have mentioned that the real Mandarin is out there, but...
all you have to do is get Ben Kingsley to come back. I mean, he said in his role, he said in Iron Man 3, they made him get plastic surgery to look like that. So it's like, all right, we know he's legit. And so here's somebody we could seriously have come back because he's got the whole mannerism down, which means there had to be source material somewhere.
Well, we'll see what happens in Phase 4.
Yeah, Phase 4 is Phase 4. But yeah, that would be my top 5 for the first half of the year. And so I think the last thing to wrap out Ry reviews for the week is, and you haven't I know you haven't posted it yet, but how about we just kind of a tease?
A quick tease. Let me see. Are we talking about our favorite web slinger here?
He swung in for
Spider-Man. Swinging in to get the cash again.
Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yes, sir.
The true end of Phase 3 of the MCU.
Oh, yeah. My quick tease about it, I quite enjoyed the movie. Mm-hmm. There was great characters. Some things here and there that could have been better, and great post-credit scenes. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, next week we'll dive into that because your review will be posted.
Yes.
So we can see into that. We may do a few minutes of some spoilery chat as a special bonus part of the podcast.
So I'll just say I enjoyed it. What my score will be, it's a mystery.
It's not even going there. Not even going there because I really did thoroughly enjoy this film.
Oh yes.
And there are elements that I loved. Seeing the way they just if you know your comic books, you know there's something odd, and they did not disappoint. And
yes,
great.
That oddity plays into something bigger.
Yep.
We can talk about that next week.
Yep. All right. We're already 50 minutes into this, so hey, we'll just charge on through.
All right.
A lot of topics here. We're basically just doing quick fire topics here.
Boom, boom, boom.
You got a couple written down here, so why don't you lead us into that?
Well, it's skimming through the week. There's some big things that dropped. One thing that dropped is Disney came out with officially announcing they're starting to go into production with the live action retelling of The Little Mermaid.
Okay.
And they've cast an actress in the main role by the name of Halle Bailey.
Halle Bailey.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't know much about her, but it's been making rounds on the interwebs just because of a swap of the character from what the animation had.
Oh, okay. Are we talking like everybody's expecting because it was Hans Christian Andersen who did that, and he was of European descent? They expected European descent for the cast, and we decided to go no.
Yeah.
More Islander.
Yeah, I don't really know her heritage, but she isn't white, so she is of cultural descent. I think she's black. I don't know, but she doesn't fit what people expected Ariel to be from the anime tale.
Oh, that's what I said. I mean, Hans Christian Andersen, that was European. They expect European. The animated film lends you to believe that she's a redhead.
They might give her, red hair, but, the idea of them changing the character should not bother people because you do not know, one, what was in that audition, and two, what the story is going to be.
Yes. I mean, we know the pacing of it.
Yes.
Unless we're really expecting like what they've done for Aladdin, what
Will
they've
Smith.
done for Aladdin. I'm not so much casting, but as far as pacing of the story, I mean, Aladdin paces pretty much the way the animated did. It's just with a few divergences, but for the most part, it's you could watch them side by side and see. Okay, here are our points.
Yeah.
Lion King. I mean,
it's coming out in a couple weeks.
Just in the promos alone, it's like, they pretty much just, hey, we have this animated thing with hand drawn. Now we're going to do CGI animals in virtually the same pacing.
I'll be there opening night.
I'm sure I will see it too. And so, but it's that kind of thing. So maybe they're expecting. I mean, there's the standard we're set. Maybe they're expecting, hey, we're going to pace the same way.
Yeah, I think people bringing up issues because of the race, they should leave it aside because race doesn't dictate the character. Because if the person personifies what the character is, race doesn't matter. No. Gender doesn't matter.
It shouldn't.
They've flipped genders in many films and many stories.
Well, it could also be that maybe they're centering the film in a different location.
Yes.
Maybe it's going to be more of the tropics.
Yeah.
Maybe instead of, because to be honest, I really can't see The Little Mermaid in the Northern Strait.
It's pretty cold up there.
I'm not seeing it. Norway and all that, I'm not seeing it. But, maybe they got good, maybe it's different temperatures down there. Who knows?
But yeah, I think what people should realize is if the person personifies the character. So, if you know how Disney is approaching this film, they've hired Rob Marshall to direct this film. And if you know his background is in musicals and, stage presence. So, there's going to be a lot of music. There's going to be a lot of stage presences.
Well, a lot of Disney's animation in the 90s.
So
was basically musicals.
So you got to look at how Disney is approaching it by who they hire. Same thing with Aladdin, they hired Guy Pearce, so you see his influence in there. When they did The Jungle Book, Jon Favreau, you see his influence there. You can go back to Cinderella, the director they hired with him has a very Shakespearean background, so you see how they changed the story to fit that kind of aura.
Okay.
So you have to look at what they're trying to build. If a story is adapted in a way where it represents, adapted from whatever medium to another medium, even though it's the same medium, they're going from animation to live action. So you got to make the animation work in live action. So you got to see what their approach is. If they stay to the core element of what the story is, then it shouldn't matter who is representing in the role. Case in point, I can go back to what I said before in a previous podcast, X-Men Days of Future Past. It represents the core element of the story, but doesn't take it beat by beat from the comics.
Yes, that's true.
And they swap roles in that too, because instead of Kitty Pryde going back in the past, it's Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to grab the core elements of the story, and the movie will be great.
Okay.
Case in point, Jungle Book, another live action remake they did. They took the core element of the story. They didn't do it beat by beat, but you felt the story. That's the Jungle Book. And
Mowgli's story.
Yeah, Mowgli's story.
Because there's a lot when you get into the Jungle Book.
Oh yes.
Than just Mowgli.
Oh yeah.
Rikki Tikki Tavi and all kinds of craziness.
Even if they strike it out the park where they try to adapt it for something different, they don't always work. Like the live action Dumbo that came out this year, they tried something different, and I give them the benefit of the doubt. It just didn't work. But that could be more tied to the story and all that stuff. But that's
Dumbo was a little hard to do. But I like the fact they kept it post World War One. I like the concept of like the Great Depression, and all of you can see a lot of the stuff that led into that. So,
but
it's not terrible.
With the hiring, it goes back to the idea, what happened in that audition room. There was something that the producers and the directors saw that is like that represents what we're building for this story, and I will always go back to what I say. Heath Ledger as Joker. That is the quintessential break windows because I'm mad at the casting to, oh my goodness, he's the greatest Joker of all time. So
arguably,
we can argue that, but in quintessential fashion, that is like
it was a casting that was completely out of left field. Yeah. Then you see him on screen and it's like, all right, here's the Oscar.
Yep, there you
go. We're good.
Okay.
Alright, so next thing you have on your list is... Alright, what is it?
Regal Cinema reportedly is going to be launching an unlimited movie subscription service by the end of the month.
Alright.
Which is interesting.
How?
Because...
we're not talking a streaming service,
No,
right?
It's not a streaming service. It's a membership where you pay for and you get to see unlimited movies... for free at different tiers. There hasn't been a lot of news on what that's going to be or how many movies you can see, but the idea that another theater chain is going this route shows that they are truly in the competition business with all the other aspects that have been evolving through technology with the streaming services and Redbox and other means that people are watching these days. It shows that the theater chains are finding new ways to combat that and keep people going to the theaters. Case in point is AMC's A-List, which is a subscription base where you pay monthly and you get to see up to 3 movies for free a week. So with Regal jumping into it, it shows that they are trying to keep their business afloat, but also showing an appreciation to people that love to go to the theaters, like me. So they're giving another way for people to engross into that experience at a better rate.
How are we making that profitable? I mean, how is the A-List? I mean, you said you can see 3 movies for free.
Yes.
Do you get a discount if you on like the 4th one?
No, it's you get with the way the A-List works. It's the week you can see up to 3 movies, any format for free. So say like you and a significant other go, you're only paying for the 1 ticket.
Okay, well, that could save a couple of bucks if you go to like the Friday night IMAX.
But there's AMC is showing how it can be profitable. We'll see how Regal's works, because if they're going the unlimited, everybody knows what happened with Movie Pass, where they tried to glorify this unlimited service, and then they backtracked and did different restrictions, and it kind of fell through the toilet hole.
Well, I haven't been to a Regal cinemas in a while, personally. But.
Oh yeah, but it shows that they are evolving.
Okay.
This is AMC, Regal, all the other chains. It's showing that they're actually trying to evolve with the technology, showing that they're not.
Because there's a lot of competition.
Oh yeah, and if you go into the theaters now, you see they have built it with different amenities now.
Mm-hmm. The AMC near us, for that one, they actually put in a bar.
Oh yeah, they have a bar. They have different experiences. You can go to IMAX, you can go to 3D, you got the Dolby Theater, and reserved seatings.
Yeah.
So they are building, hey, we have reasons for you to keep coming. Their food might be overpriced, but it's fine by me, because I don't go all the time. So I do love my large popcorn, butter it up. But yeah, theater popcorn is where it's at. I'm sorry, I'll pay that price.
Yeah.
So what is your thoughts on this subscription service and the overall what the theater chains are doing?
I think it's interesting how we're going less about a single experience and more about planning multiple experiences. It's almost, which is funny because we were just looking at like season passes for Busch Gardens.
Oh yes.
Nearby. And it's like, well, you get the preferred one, you can pay monthly for it, or you can pay it outright, and you get discounts inside the park, which I remember, pricing there is, a little out there if you're on a budget, and it's like, okay. And then the same thing with this is like, it kind of, if you think about how economically the last few years everybody's been tightening their belts, so to speak, and not as frivolous, the idea of like, hey, let me do the subscription, I get out and go do this experience.
Yes.
And it's like that could be a way to try and get butts in seats, so to speak.
The pay for service for these subscriptions is being littered throughout every aspect of our lives. Like we talked about when we talked about Apple a few weeks back, about how they're going to subservice and how music services like Pandora and Spotify, you pay for access instead of paying for the collection. Mm-hmm. Like you said with Busch Gardens, you have museums where you can pay for memberships, zoos, other kind of service with stores and get free stuff. So
yeah, and the thing is, like the Busch Gardens one, it's like you have the one park, the two park, or if you're really planning a lot of trips, all 11 parks they own. You could get a pass to visit all of them.
Oh, yes.
And it's like, okay, that makes sense.
And it plays to whatever base that it goes to. So if you're amusement park enthusiast, getting a membership or a season pass will benefit. Yeah. Being a gamer and you get a lot of games, having Xbox Game Pass probably benefits for you. Having Steam service, having season pass for certain games, if you're constantly playing games like The Division or Destiny or any Ubisoft game. So having the pass and the subscription plays to the people that enjoy it. Yeah. So you can't look at the fact that there might not people that don't see it as a benefit, but there's a lot of other people that do.
Yeah.
So
I think that, there's always room for competition. And
yes.
With the fact you could just do your subscription and then turn it on, turn it off kind of deal.
That's the one good thing about this stuff, because it's monthly, it's yearly, it's however you want to pay it. So you can always be like, okay, you pay it for the year, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Or you pay it for the month, and like these 2 months I can't do.
The big thing is making sure you use it.
Oh, yes.
There's nothing worse than, hey, I paid for a year of this. How many times you been? Twice.
That's why I renew my Zoom membership when I actually go.
6 months?
So
it's like, yeah, that's just not working. If you're not making the effort to use it, don't get it. But having more options seems pretty good. Alrighty. So, got a couple other things here on our list of potential talkabouts. So we covered that one. And so I guess, being it's the 4th of July, I guess we'll wrap up with a the latest Netflix release of season 3 of Stranger Things.
It's a big one that dropped on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
It's hiding in my queue, or actually sitting on the top of my queue, so I'm getting ready for it. Getting ready to watch it.
I spent all summer looking at the Baskin Robbins Stranger Things stuff with the whole Scoops Ahoy and all that. And I'm working my way through the series. I know I'm late to the game. Sorry, don't crucify me for it. But I like it. It's definitely...
It's a phenomenon of its own making, and it plays to the nostalgia of anybody that's a fan of the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
But it finds a way to combine that nostalgia with a unique twist of certain things.
The story is really kind of hilarious. I'm getting through it, and there are bits and pieces, because, you know, I have a short attention span on some things, and I gotta say that even though I like... Overall,
yeah,
I find it hard to sit through each episode because sometimes it gets a little slow, and then it's like I also happen to be like, hey, I need to do something, get something else done because I have all these different things I'm working on. So I use it as a lot of background, but as a background piece, it's still really phenomenal because it'll have a moment where you just got to stop, turn, and go, wait, what?
You have to rewind and be like, what just happened?
Wait, what?
But I am definitely, I have season 3 queued up. I am definitely looking forward to it. I'm definitely curious to see how they build upon what they ended in season 2, because they did a lot of little Easter eggs pointing to, you know, more kids like 11, more interesting monsters tied to that other world, and how that plays into the growth of the characters, the group of misfit kids. So it's as much as it plays to the nostalgia of 80s tropes and stuff, it does, you see character growth in the kids. You see where they're at, they're getting older, and now I want to see how that coming of age plays against the horror in the series.
And I think it's a small season too.
Yeah, I think they don't really go past 10 episodes, so I can't remember how many episodes.
I think it was 8 or 10 or something.
So it's not that long. And I believe season 4 might be the last, because the Duffy brothers said there is a beginning, middle, and end. They aren't going past a certain number. So that would be good.
I think season 4 is going to be the end. So. And I think season 4 is definitely going to happen. So we'll be curious to see how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
So
try to avoid the social medias and avoid spoilers. Kind of saw one, but I don't know until I see it by accident.
Yeah, I don't mind it, because it's anything. It's like, here's your opinion. Okay, I'll watch it. I'll think about your opinion, and I was like, I'll either agree or disagree or move on from there.
Okay,
it's pretty much what it is.
But yeah, other than that, been watching Jessica Jones season 3. The last of the Marvel Netflix shows. Mm-hmm. I'm almost done with that, and been.
Is it worth it?
I'm knee deep in the last couple episodes, and I can say that just an overall perspective, it's a lot better season than season 2.
Okay.
And they are getting knee deep into the characters and the psyche of what it means to be a hero. So if you definitely, even though we know that it's ending, it looks like this is going to end on a high note, kind of like Daredevil season 3.
That's good. That's good. And speaking of high notes, I think we'll go ahead and call this a week and tune in, and we'll do again next week, right?
Yep. Build up to Comic-Con and some other stuff.
Oh, yes. We're going to definitely do some preload for Comic-Con, because that's our next major geek mecca to talk about.
Got to geek out with the sweaties.
I'm really looking forward to some of the stuff for Witcher Netflix series.
Hopefully they drop some info about Witcher 3. I want to see what Kevin Feige is going to do with the MCU, and hopefully there's some hidden gems here and there.
Yep. All right. With that, y'all have a great one.